Maroona was not always the hollow-eyed creature whispered about in late-night chats and abandoned forums. Long before anyone called her corpse Maroona, she was simply Maroona Vale, a quiet girl who lived on the edge of the old Sprunki district, an industrial town where the streetlights flickered like they were afraid of the dark. She had always been different. Not dangerous, not cruel, just attuned to things other people ignored. She heard faint hums in empty rooms, felt cold spots where no breeze existed, and saw shadows that didn't belong to anything. Most people dismissed her as imaginative. A few whispered that the Vale family had always been sensitive, though no one explained what that meant. It began the night the sky turned a strange violet color, an omen the town would later pretend it never saw. Maroona woke to a sound like distant chimes, soft but urgent. When she followed it, she found a symbol glowing faintly on her bedroom wall, pulsing like a heartbeat. She reached out, and the symbol flickered, then vanished. The next morning, she felt different. Not sick, not tired, just aware, as though something had opened a door inside her mind. Most people overlooked Maroona's change, but 4 classmates sensed something was wrong. Wyram, the quiet observer who noticed patterns others missed. Veneria, whose intuition bordered on uncanny. Gray, the skeptic who didn't believe in anything until he saw it himself. Oren, the one who always tried to protect the people he cared about. They weren't friends, not yet, but each of them felt the same strange pull toward Maroona, as if her presence tugged at the edges of their thoughts. During class, Maroona's shadow stretched farther than it should have, bending at angles that didn't match her movements. Wyram saw it first. Then Veneria. Then Gray. Then Oren. None of them spoke, but they all felt the same cold realization. Something was following Maroona. Something that wasn't her. That night, the symbol returned, brighter, sharper, almost alive. Maroona didn't touch it this time. She tried to run. But the symbol wasn't on the wall anymore. It was in her. A whisper curled through her mind, soft as silk and cold as stone. Not a command. Not a threat. A claim. And from that moment on, Maroona Vale was no longer alone in her own body. The town would later call her transformation a tragedy. The internet would call it a myth. But Wyram, Veneria, Gray, and Oren would remember it as the moment their lives became tied to a darkness older than Sprunki itself. A darkness that had chosen Maroona. Wyram had always been the one who noticed things first. Patterns in conversations, shifts in people's moods, the way a room felt different when someone walked in. But ever since the night Maroona changed, his awareness had turned into something heavier, something that pressed on his chest like a weight he couldn't shake. He didn't tell anyone. Not Veneria, not Gray, not Oren. They all saw the strange things happening around Maroona, but Wyram felt them. It began with the dreams. Every night, he saw Maroona standing in a hallway that stretched into darkness. Her silhouette flickered like a dying light bulb. She never spoke, never moved. She only stared at him with one bright eye and one shadowed void where the other should have been. When he woke, he felt drained, as if the dream had followed him back into the real world. During the day, he tried to act normal. But the world around him seemed muted, colors washed out, sounds distant. His friends' voices felt like they were coming from behind a wall. Even the things he used to enjoy felt dull, like someone had turned the volume of his life down. He didn't know how to explain it. He only knew it started when Maroona changed. Wyram began noticing something else, something that made his stomach twist. Whenever Maroona walked into a room, the heaviness inside him sharpened. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was a strange, aching sadness that didn't belong to him. It felt borrowed. One afternoon, he caught his reflection in a window and froze. His eyes looked dimmer, like someone had drained the light from them. And behind him, just for a moment, he saw a faint outline, tall, thin, and wrong, standing over his shoulder. When he blinked, it vanished. But the feeling remained. The turning point came during lunch. Maroona sat alone, staring at her hands as if they weren't hers. The cafeteria buzzed with noise, but Wyram heard none of it. All he heard was a low hum, the same tone he'd heard in his dreams. He felt drawn to her, pulled by something he couldn't name. When she finally lifted her head, their eyes met. Her expression didn't change. But Wyram felt a wave of emotion crash into him, loneliness so deep it felt ancient. It wasn't his. It wasn't hers. It was something else, something that had wrapped itself around her and was now reaching for him. He stumbled back, breath shaking. For the first time, he understood. Maroona wasn't the only one being changed. Whatever had claimed her was spreading. And Wyram was its first target. The change in Maroona had shaken Wyram, but the world around them was shifting too, quietly, subtly, like a curtain being pulled over reality one thread at a time. What began as a personal nightmare was becoming something larger, something that touched the edges of everyone's lives in Sprunki district. Sprunki had always been a noisy place, factory hums, late-night traffic, the constant chatter of people who lived too close together. But over the days following Maroona's transformation, the noise faded. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Just less. People spoke in softer tones. Radios crackled with static. Even the wind seemed to move more cautiously, as if it didn't want to disturb something lurking in the quiet. Wyram noticed it first, but soon Veneria, Gray, and Oren felt it too. The world wasn't empty, but it felt emptier, like something had drained the life from the air. The four of them began to drift from everyone else, not by choice, but by force. Friends stopped texting. Teachers forgot their names mid-sentence. People they passed in the hallways looked through them, not at them. It was as if the world was slowly forgetting they existed. Wyram tried to explain it to the others one afternoon, but the words felt heavy in his mouth. "It's like, we're being pushed out," he said. "Like the world is shrinking, and we're not supposed to be in it." Gray scoffed, but even he couldn't hide the unease in his eyes. Veneria nodded, her expression tight. Oren didn't say anything, he just kept glancing at the corners of the room, as if expecting something to step out of the shadows. Whenever Maroona appeared, the feeling intensified. Rooms dimmed. Conversations died. People walked away without realizing why. She didn't speak much anymore, and when she did, her voice sounded distant, like it was traveling from somewhere far behind her. But the strangest part wasn't how others reacted to her. It was how the world reacted. Lights flickered when she passed. Clocks slowed. Reflections in windows lagged behind her movements. And always, there was that faint hum, the one Wyram heard in his dreams, vibrating at the edge of hearing. One evening, the four of them stood outside the school as the sun set. The sky looked wrong, too still, too flat, like a painting instead of a sky. No birds. No cars. No voices. Just silence. Veneria whispered, "Do you feel that? Like the world is, holding its breath?" Wyram nodded. "It's not just us. Everything's changing." Gray swallowed hard. Because of her? Oren didn't answer. He didn't need to. They all knew. Maroona wasn't just being followed by something. She wasn't just changing. She was becoming the center of something vast and lonely, something that was pulling the world inward, hollowing it out piece by piece. And the terrifying part wasn't that the world felt alone. It was that the world felt like it was preparing to be alone.